Ooh, excuse me. Great. Sounds like the mic is good. Music should be good. And alright. Sorry for the delay. Took me a while to finally uh take a quick shower and get ready. Pretty much had everything up. I sound loud. Good God. We turn it down a bit. There we go. Cause anyone else who is, in Florida, like I am, yeah, it's supposed to be getting cold. Like, not cold. Like, cold's not even the right word. It's supposed to get freezing tonight. Like, it's supposed to drop down to, like, somewhere in the 20s, I was told. Just, like, maybe a couple hours ago. And I was like, oh, hell no. Really? Like, come on. Here in Florida, anyone who's lived in Florida their whole lives know we don't do cold. Especially not 20 degrees everywhere else in the United States cold. So, yeah, I was just getting all that, getting bundled up, make sure I have everything, because, yeah, don't really kind of feel like freezing tonight. So that's kind of what took me a little while, but I am here. Sorry I hadn't streamed any other time during the week. I'm trying to. Honestly, I don't know what's going on with me body-wise. It's like, once it's one thing then another. I told you guys a while ago one of my I had gotten like a random ear infection, and then it got better, kind of slowly started coming back in another ear, and then crazy enough, it is something that hadn't happened in a good while. Cause I still have my wisdom teeth, I never got them out, but one of them started acting up because now the gum around it was really sensitive and kind of was hurting a bit, so I was dealing with that kind of about a week. About getting mouthwash, extra brushing my teeth, making sure. Even started doing this thing. Was pretty much what everyone was pretty much saying. Like, if you have something like that, like gargle some salt water, like 2 or 3 times a day or after every meal. So that's what I've been doing. It's definitely helped. It's gone down a lot from when it was hurting like the beginning of the week. So that's another thing that kind of stopped me from hopping on and doing anything stream wise. But I am here. I did want to do the podcast episode because this was going to be the last podcast episode for January before we picked the next two for February. Oh, I was like, no. And this is one I was definitely looking forward to. Pardon me, talking about. Because this is a classic. Almost 9 out of 10, most people have seen it, have heard of it, even if you've just played the card game itself. If you played any of the mobile games that's out there, if you're someone who's just watched the anime, like, this was a staple for a lot of people growing up, especially to people who back in the day didn't know that this was anime. To them, this was just another cartoon. It kind of fell into that realm of we didn't know what anime was at the time. We just assumed this was some cartoon alongside like Pokemon, Digimon, what other animes that we thought back in the day were cartoons. A little later than this was like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z. Like, we didn't know that was anime. We just assumed it was a cartoon, which in a way it is. It's a Japanese cartoon, but yeah. So, as you can definitely tell from the title, from the little slideshow, if you're watching this live, pardon me, or later on, yes, I am talking about the OG Yu-Gi-Oh! The one that started it all, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. So with this, I will be going over the original anime, the one we all grew up on, one from the 2000s. I'll also be going over well, not all the movies, but I'll give like a little tidbits about certain movies that kind of fall under the OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Whether it was maybe Yu-Gi made an appearance, or the movies like mainly focused on him and his group, which actually turns out there actually was a lot. I've seen all of them except for one that I will talk about. It's apparently one that I guess didn't get over here in the US, but did get released over in Japan. But But yeah, so I pretty much will going over all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, all the arcs. I definitely will let you guys know like which ones were prominent in the manga and which ones were anime only added on for the anime, of course. Pretty much filler arcs. And then yeah, we'll go into the movies and then we'll talk about the games. And then there was one thing I was holding off on reaction wise that had Yu-Gi-Oh in it. It was a death battle that pit him against Ash, if I'm not mistaken. Let me pull it up. Yeah, it was a death battle. Ash versus Yugi, Pokemon versus Yu-Gi-Oh! Came out a month ago. I was holding off because I was like, kind of funny that we got Yu-Gi-Oh! Picked for this. I was like, you know what? If anything, we'll react to that as a connection to this as well. Excuse me. So, before any of that, of course, we will go into the anime. I'll go over it, over certain arcs, certain duels that happened, one that really stuck out to me, some famous and popular ones, and then yeah, we'll hop over to that death battle that they did, and kind of see what they did, and if Yugi would be able to go against Ash and all his Pokemon, which would be kind of interesting to see. So, but before that, of course, we'll go over our synopsis. Um, so with this, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters is a 224 anime, aired April 18th of 2000 to September 29th of 2004. Premiered in the spring of 2000. The producers are Eniho Ad System and Shueisha. Licensors are Konami, and the now defunct has been around for years at this point. The 4Kids Entertainment. So like I said, this just fell into the realm where like the first few seasons of Pokemon were dubbed over by 4Kids. Yu-Gi-Oh! For the first few seasons was dubbed by 4Kids. But the first like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon I watched was done by 4Kids. The first iteration of Mew Mew Power or Tokyo Mew Mew got dubbed by 4Kids. What else? Winx Club, like just or Magical Doremi or like that got dubbed by 4Kids. There was so much thing that fell under 4Kids back in the day. How much we pretty much kind of roast on 4Kids. It did help in bringing, you know, a lot of shows that are cult classics like Yu-Gi-Oh, Winx Club, Pokemon, kind of bringing over animes that we probably wouldn't have really known or wouldn't have had that big of a fan base if it hadn't gotten dubbed over by 4Kids. The studio that did the Yu-Gi-Oh was Galapo. Never heard of them. I doubt it's still around because I've never heard of this anime studio. The source material is the manga. Genres you'll find it under are action, adventure, and fantasy. Theme is strategy game, and the demographic is shonen. So, with the synopsis from my anime list, starts off with Yu-Gi-Oh! Moto is a naive and lonely high school student who is fascinated by games. While staying with his grandfather, the owner of a game shop, he comes across an ancient Egyptian relic known as the Millennium Puzzle. Rumored to grant any wish to those who solve the puzzle, Yugi becomes determined to solve it and wish for some friends. After years of struggling, Yugi managed to complete the puzzle and mysteriously found that his wish has been fulfilled. Meanwhile, a new card game known as Duel Monsters starts rising in popularity. In this game's players called duelists fight against each other with monsters by using magic and trap cards to foil their opponent's plan. Yugi quickly becomes skilled at the game and lives a peaceful life with his newfound friends. However, Yugi's peace is short-lived. The undefeated duelist and egocentric billionaire Seto Kaiba suddenly abducts Yugi's grandfather, forcing him to a duel against the rare Blue-Eyes White Dragon card. Yugi is thrown into a new world of fierce battles and stakes continue to rise as dark forces interfere from the shadows. After unexpectedly defeating Kaiba with the help of his other self, the spirit of a nameless pharaoh contained in the puzzle, he unofficially becomes the top duelist known as the King of Games. However, this new title will attract trouble, and Yugi will have to use all his intelligence and willpower in order to protect what he holds dearest to him. One other quick little notice, also from my anime list, was that um, a little background about the anime, that it loosely adapted chapters 60 to 343 of the source manga while adding original events and characters not present in the manga. So that's one of you, definitely when you go through the anime, you can kind of, I mean, back in the day, we didn't really know what filler was, so we just assumed what we were seeing were part of the main story. But later on, as we got older, we didn't know that certain arcs, certain parts were just made up for the anime. Cause I guess at that point they had caught up to the manga, and didn't want to just didn't want to rush into a story too fast, so just made fake, well, not fake, but pretty much made up episodes, have them go through other journeys until the new official arc came up. And with that, there actually is quite a bit with the first Yu-Gi-Oh, which makes sense. Like I said, the first anime of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters is over 200 episodes long, so there's bound to be multiple arcs. So the first one is Duelist Kingdom. Then we got Domino City Battles. Then we got Battle City Part 1, Virtual World, Battle City Part 2, Waking the Dragons Grand Championship, Pharaoh's Memories, and then the last one is the Memorial Battle. I also will talk about one other quick mini series that kind of falls in a not a weird place, well, kind of a weird place, but does focus mainly with our main cast of Yugi, Joey, Taya, Tristan, and his grandfather. Which actually I didn't even get over our characters before I hopped into the arcs, but yeah. So first and foremost, we have our main character, Yugimoto. He is pretty iconic. It's kind of not, even if you don't know his name, you definitely know him because basically he is the face of Yu-Gi-Oh! Him and the Pharaoh. Which is funny enough because, you know, they share a body, but you can definitely tell the difference from when it's Yugi talking or dueling compared to when the Pharaoh is in charge and he's dueling or whatnot. Definitely by like the sharpness of his eyes, his hair ends up like spiking over into how his hair originally is. And funny enough, which is funny because I actually didn't notice until years later and people started pointing it out when Yugi transformed, well, when he, yeah, pretty much transforms and then the Pharaoh takes over, he ends up growing a little bit because Yugi is very, very short for his age. It always used to throw me off because I was like, why is this kid hanging out with a bunch of high schoolers? And it's like, they're the same age. Yugi is just really, really short for his age. And then funny enough, when you kind of see his grandfather and you kind of, there's a few flashbacks when you kind of see his grandfather when he was younger that, yeah, the shortness kind of runs in the family. Grandfather wasn't that tall either, so it is just kind of funny. But when the Pharaoh does take over, funny enough, Yugi does end up growing a little bit taller. So, and then it's just funny that no one ever points it out that when the Pharaoh is in charge, Yugi ends up growing a little higher. So he's, I guess, a little more than below average than compared to usual, but it's still pretty funny. Then we have his best friend, who at first wasn't the best duelist, but throughout the show does end up getting really, really good. End up becoming like one of the top duelists in the world. We got Joey Wheeler, and Joey is just freaking hilarious. Like he's probably one of my like favorite characters in the show because he is one, no nonsense. He is always quick to stand up for his friends. He doesn't stand for Kaiba talking down to him, belittling him, treating him like he isn't a good duelist. When even though in the beginning he had his struggles, but with learning and being with Yugi, he's definitely grown into being a more capable duelist, and is willing to be there for Yugi, now knowing all the dangers that's attracting him and the Pharaoh. So, another one is pretty much the only girl of the group in the beginning that we meet is Taya, which, funny enough, the anime didn't really specify this, but it turns out that actually her and Yugi were actually childhood friends, so they grew up together. Um, and then, funny enough, this is one thing that the English dub did that you kind of don't notice until if you go back and rewatch the sub, which I don't know why they did this, but again, this is for kids. They cut and did so much stuff. It's crazy. But actually, you can kind of see in the sub or the Japanese version that Yuki actually has a bit of a crush on Taya. But of course doesn't kind of really act on it as much. But and then throughout the story, we do see that she does have feelings for Yuki, but it also kind of gets complicated when she starts developing feelings for, well, she has feelings for both. But at first she doesn't understand that Yugi and the Pharaoh are pretty much two souls occupying the same body. So whenever the Pharaoh does something and it kind of soothes her heart, she, thinking it's Yugi, when actually it's the Pharaoh. So when she does come to that realization that they are two separate people, that gets her even more confused because now she realizes that she has feelings for both of them, and that just puts a whole nother spin on having a crush on two guys. Imagine having a crush on two guys and they share the same body. Like, that's wild. But yeah, Taya is kind of like the heart of the group. She keeps everyone together. She's very known for her speeches of friendship and sticking together, but she does kind of keep them all grounded. Like, kind of keeps Joey from going off the rail whenever he gets a big head. Always being there for Yugi when he needs like a pep talk, especially in Duelist Kingdom, which I will get to because that's one of my like favorite episodes. I love that episode with Taya and another character we'll talk about, and just kind of keeping the group together pretty much. Then last real friend we know is Tristan. Funny enough, actually another thing I didn't mention this, but I guess I'll mention it now since they were both in on it. In the beginning, Joey and Tristan weren't friends with Yugi. They actually wished to bully him, pick on him, and they would harass him a lot. But when Yugi stood up for them against another bully who was going after them, they kind of grew respect for him, saw him in a new light, saw how trashy they were being, and then decided to be friends and end up becoming his best friends because of it. Especially Joey, because we do learn later on kind of why he was acting like that, which I will get into when we get into Duelist Kingdom. But yeah, but then we have our main antagonist, pretty much not the opposite of Yugi, but his rival when it comes to dueling and getting the title of King of Games. We have our resident millionaire wherever he is, Seto Kaiba. First time you meet this guy, you're like, this dude is just a pompous rich ass. He thinks just because he has money and runs this multi-million-dollar company that he can do whatever he wants. He treats people horribly. He doesn't talk to people nice at all. Funny enough, the only person we ever really truly see him kind of having a heart for is someone we don't meet in the very beginning. Well, not straight in the beginning, but we do meet later on in Duelist Kingdom, would be his younger brother, Mokuba. We do learn a little what happened to them and kind of why he kind of doesn't really open his heart to other people besides Mokuba. And even then, sometimes and throughout the show, he does look like he kind of is that way to Mokuba as well. But whenever Mokuba is in trouble, anyone tries to go after him, Seto is not for it, because, that is the only family he has left, and it's kind of really the only thing he truly cares about. Like, there were even instances where he was willing to give everything up, his company, his title, and all of it, if it meant having Mokuba back and having him safe. So, like we said, Seto can be definitely an ass throughout the rest of the show, especially to the cast. But we do know that he does have a heart. He does care about his family, even if that is only one person. So this shows that he does have good in him. He just has a very hard time opening up and being that vulnerable to anyone else besides Mokuba. Give me one sec. Let me get a drink of water. Ooh, sorry about that. But yeah, so that's kind of like our main characters. I'll be going over some other characters once we get into them, because most of them kind of we don't really meet them until we get into Duelist Kingdom. So with that, I'll actually start going over the arcs. I'll go over specific duels that happened and kind of what the overall, well, not the overall story, but kind of what happens in that arc and how it gets wrapped up. So, first one is the well-known Duelist Kingdom. It is the first 40 episodes of the anime. With it, at this point, we kind of already get what happens in the synopsis. Pretty much like the first episode. We meet Yugi, Joey, Taya, and Tristan. They're playing Duel Monsters. Yugi wins. He tells them, his friends, like, hey, you know, the only reason I'm so good at this and learn so much about the rules and everything is because my grandfather runs a game shop. And he actually has this super rare card that he doesn't let anyone have, or like, that he kind of keeps as like a treasure. And he's like, hey, why don't you guys stop by? And I ask him, and maybe he'll let us see it real quick. And of course, pardon if I didn't say this, they're all in the same class, and Seto, who's also in the same class, hears this, and he's like, rare card. Hold on, is it the card I'm looking for? So they go, the grandfather shows them, and he has a blue eyes white dragon. Explains that it's a super rare card in Duel Monsters. There's only 4 in the world that was ever made, and he has one of them. It was actually like a gift from a dear friend of his that he keeps close and dear to him, so it's a very prized possession. Kaiba pops up, sees the card, immediately starts offering his grandfather all these rare, super expensive cards, and he's like, you can have them all, name your price for me to get this blue eyes. And even though he is a little tempted, and even the others are like, whoa, those are some like cool cards that you can get for, and like the fact that he's like, you can have all of them for just one card, that's a good deal for you. But he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. This card means a lot to me. It's more than just a card. Of course, Kaiba doesn't like that. So when Yugi and his friends are out the next day at school and hanging out, I forget what happens. Like he gets a phone call from Kaiba, and he's like, "Oh, I have your grandfather." And he's like, "What are you talking about? What did you do?" And he's like, "Oh, come to my company or wherever he had him at, and you'll figure it out." Turns out, he had forced his grandfather into a duel, beat him, took the card, and instead of taking it for himself, this son of a bitch rips it. And it was like, oh, your grandfather was trash. Can't believe, he did all that and still lost to me. The card is worthless. And it's like, dude, what? So, to avenge his and at this point his grandfather is really old, so him overexert himself end up sending him to the hospital. So the others, with the help, get his grandfather to safety, and pretty much the funniest and most iconic scene that happens. And funny enough, I'd never noticed what it was until someone pointed it out. Oops, wrong one. I should have got a picture of it. Hold on. Yu-Gi-Oh! Smile. Let me see smile meme if that pulls it up. No, they're just, what smile mean? It's just showing that weird face Joey makes. It's freaking hilarious. Let me put symbol. Let me put a hand. There we go. Alright, give me a sec. Hold on, I have it. There we go. So I'm gonna pause this for a quick sec. So it was this. So before they all left, Taya was like, "Hey, wait, let me let me draw this symbol. You know, to kind of explain our friendship. That no matter how far we are, we'll be connected through this." Tell me why it didn't take me till years later to find out that she actually drew a smiley face with all their hands. I was like, someone said it, and I was like, "There's no way, there's no shot. That's what that is." And I looked more closely at it, and I was like, "Son of a freaking bit!" It was. How did I not see that all these years? How did I not see that? But like, yeah, I drew that. This kind of symbolized that, no matter how far apart they were, no matter what they were going through, they were all gonna be together, backing each other up, and that was gonna give them all strength. So Taya and Tristan takes Yugi's grandfather to the hospital, while Yugi battles against Kaiba. Joey stays for support, and it looks like and he ends up using his grandfather's deck to kind of prove that he didn't need a deck full of super powerful monsters. If he knew what he was doing and played his cards right and had the heart of the cards, he could pull out a win. And in the end, that's exactly what he does when he's able to summon, at that time, the most powerful card, Exodia. I'll get all the pieces, put them all together, summon him, and wiped the floor with Kaiba. End up mind crushing him too, to kind of help him open up his heart and his mind, to, then kind of giving him a new perspective on life. And with that, it totally crushed Kaiba. And word got around that, Kaiba, pretty much the most powerful duelist, undefeated, actually lost to a pretty much at this point a nobody. No one knew who Yugi was. He wasn't in any tournaments for Duel Monsters, so it wasn't like his name got around and he was known for, being a duelist and then won. It was just like, this guy came out of nowhere, beat the most powerful duelist that's been known around the world, and now everybody's like, who is this guy? And with that, we'll happen to a bit of it's a synopsis of what happens. Basically, the whole premise of Duelist Kingdom is Yugi is forced to take part in Maximilian Pegasus' Duelist Kingdom tournament in order to free the soul of his grandfather. After Pegasus strips it from his body, his friend Joey Wheeler takes part too, as he needs the prize money to pay for his sister's eyes operation. So, with that, pretty much like the next few days, Yugi gets a package from the creator of Duel Monsters, which is Pegasus, pretty much saying like he wants to invite him to his Duelist Kingdom tournament, and pretty much kind of gives Yugi no choice, forces him to join. By at first they have a quick duel, but there was a timer that ran out, and just as Yugi was about to win, timer ran off, so that meant he ended up losing. And the penalty of that, which we didn't, not really known, but we find out that Yugi's Millennium Puzzle isn't the only Millennium item out there. There's several of them, and Pegasus happens to have one. The I can never say the name right. The Millennium Eye. And with it, he's able to extract the souls of anyone he lays his eye on it. And kind of to force Yugi to join and participate in his Duelist Kingdom so that he can get access to his Millennium Puzzle, is to take the soul of his grandfather, putting him pretty much in comatose, and pretty much saying, well, if you want to get him back, you'll have to not only enter my tournament, but make it to the final round to defeat me. That's the only way you'll be able to get him back. Joey hears this, and at first, everyone kind of thinks he's just money hungry. He's just doing this for the grand prize that they were told that the winner wins. It's not until a few episodes later when he reveals that he actually has a younger sister who has I forget what it was. It's either something happened or she caught like some type of disease or something genetic is like causing her to slowly lose her eyesight. And they've tried everything they've done, and they've run a few tests, and there is an operation that they can do that can help her, but it costs way too much money that no one in his family can afford. So they kind of had no hope. They believed, this was something that was just going to happen. She was just going to slowly start losing her eyesight until she went permanently blind. But after hearing the amount of money that the winner of Duelist Kingdom can get, he said that would be more than enough to cover her eye operation, so that way she wouldn't have to lose her sight forever. Hearing this inspires Joey to participate in Duelist Kingdom, which, funny enough, he actually wasn't offered to join at all, because in the beginning, they send out these gauntlets that they wear, and you need to collect star chips from the other participant. Once you catch a certain amount, you would then be granted access to his main castle, where there the semifinals would happen, and then whoever got through the semifinal would then fight against Pegasus. I believe you were given 2 star chips to start, but Yugi, being the best friend he is, and after hearing Joey's explanation on why he wants the prize money, offers one of his star chips to Joey so that he can participate in the tournament as well, kind of giving them even a more disadvantage since everyone else is starting off with 2 and they both only have 1. Also, if once you lost all your star chips, you would then be sent on a boat and sent back to the mainland, pretty much being forced out of the tournament. But with that, they were funny enough, they were able to allow it. I think at this point Pegasus was gonna do anything to ensure that Yugi popped up, so allowed it. Taya and Tristan just snuck on. But at this point, this is when we start meeting other characters that do end up showing around later. We meet my Valentine, a very beautiful but very sneaky duelist who ends up becoming a very good friend to the group later on. We got Weevil on Underwood, right? That's his name, Bug Boy, freaky dude. Was also a really top known duelist before all this. We meet Rex Raptor, who's known for like his Dino cards and is a really top duelist as well. So at this point, we get to Duelist Kingdom and everyone starts having all these duels. First, Yugi deals against Weevil because he at first tried to be all nice and buddy with Yugi. He showed him his Exodia cards, and then he just flung them off the boat into the sea, pretty much getting rid of Yugi's strongest monster in his deck. So kind of wanted revenge on that and was able to spill out a win. And if I'm not mistaken, he won all his star chips. So then he was able to not only kick Weevil out of pretty much round 1, but was able to gain 3. What is it, 3? I think it's they bargained up all their star chips. I mean, at this point, Yugi only had 1, but I think Weevil offered up both of his, if I'm not mistaken. And then... No, that was before. I was sick. Joey going against Mai. She kind of proves that she can, Ooh, excuse me. She can tell which cards are which just without even looking at them. But then we find out she actually has a cheat that she uses so that she can tell which card is which. But in the end, Joey is able to win. He doesn't knock her out. I do know she ends up staying a little later before because she makes it to the semifinals. So, but was able to win. But because of that, Mai ends up sweet talking Rex into going against Joey, kind of to get revenge, but without having to duel him herself. Joey ends up winning that duel, and funny enough, he also ends up getting Rex's powerful card, which ends up becoming Joey's iconic card, his Red Eyes Black Dragon. And then they just kind of go through more shenanigans. They meet another friend from school, Bakura, who shows up, who he also has a Millennium item, who also has a spirit in it. But funny enough, his is not a kind one. His is out hunting for the other Millennium items, so he tries to get Yugi's, but it doesn't turn out. And funny enough, when they think they've gotten rid of the spirit, or they chuck the Millennium Ring. It somehow, some way finds its way back to Bakura with the spirit, taking him over at certain times. So it's crazy. But at one point, the gang runs into Mokuba, and they're like, "Wait a minute, you're Kaiba's kid brother. What are you doing here? Where's your brother?" And he's like, "Oh, well, at first I think I forgot what it was. He challenged Yugi to a duel. I think was about to lose. Stole some of his star chips and was like if you don't do this, then you won't get them back. But then end up getting captured by Pegasus's group, and I forgot what happened to the star chips. And then they got like lost at sea or something. So that ended up putting Yugi back even more. I think at that point he was like almost to the amount he needed to get into the final round, pretty much. Yeah, there's a bunch like back and forth that's like kind of stops Yugi from like immediately being like one of the first people to get into the next round. Actually, I almost forgot this character. We meet him here. We meet Bandit Keith, who turns out to be just a huge, massive cheat. He's got cards just under his sleeve, in his pockets, in his jacket. He's just cheating up and down. And we find out, of course, he's just doing all this for the prize money. He has this hilarious scene in the dub that they cut off because of kind of what happens. But yeah, he goes against Joey, ends up losing even with after all his cheats. But one thing with not Bakura, Mokuba, he ends up getting captured by Pegasus's men. We find out that Pegasus, after Kaiba lost to Yugi, he kind of went into this huge slump, and due to that, Pegasus was able to swoop in, take over Kaiba Corp, and kidnap Mokuba to kind of keep Kaiba in line. So Kaiba, learning this, comes to Duelist Kingdom to search for his brother, challenges others to a duel so that he can get access to the castle, so he can go after Pegasus, even having this very iconic duel with him and Yugi, to at one point when he was about to lose, knowing that if he lost this, he wouldn't be able to get in with his brother, to save his brother, stood at the end of the cliff that they were standing on, and was like, oh, also because he also was like testing out his new prototype duel disc that would help the monsters kind of come to life and have like effects and whatnot. And some of the effects can like have like wind that can like blow people back. And so he stood at the edge of the where they were standing and was like, look, if you attack, the effects of the whatever would blow me back, knocking me off of this and killing me. And he's like, would you really be willing to do that? And Yugi and the Pharaoh end up having like separate parts where he's like, no, I can't do this, but he's like, but we have to win. And that kind of ended up really scaring Yugi, because at one point, like, he was gonna go through it, but he finally, like, or the Pharaoh was gonna go through it, but his will to stow it stopped, and it really freaked Yugi out, because he was like, at that moment, he was willing to do anything, even put someone else's life on the line if it meant winning the duel. So it kind of really freaked him out, and he, at this point lost his star chips, and was just down in the dumps. And this is kind of where one of my favorite characters for Taya pops up. Mine pops up, and at this point they've been helping her out. She's turned a new leaf. She's kind of become friends. She's like, hey, I have these extra star chips. Why don't you take them? Kind of as a thanks for helping me out all this time. And then that way you can still get in and, do what you need to do. But Yugi is such in a slump that he doesn't speak, he doesn't talk, he doesn't move. This gets, Mai kind of upset, because she's like, what are you doing? This isn't the Yugi I know. But she's like, fine, if you want to be a loser and just sit here, that's fine with me. Taya, of course, is not going to stand for that. She's like, I'll duel you and get those star chips for Yugi. At this point, we've never really seen her in a real official duel. She's played a few times with them at school, beating Joey a few times, actually. But she's never really went against someone who's pretty much made it their livelihood to be a duelist. So she goes against Mai, losing a good bit, but even frightened, scared, and kind of not really knowing what she's 100% doing in a real one-on-one duel, is not gonna give up. She's gonna fight to the end to help Yugi one get out of his slump and get him into the castle so that he can go against Pegasus. And even though Mai could have won, seeing the determination, seeing the spark it brought back into Yugi's eyes, surrendered, giving Taya the win, giving her the star chips so that Yugi could take them and get into Duelist Kingdom. With that, not Yuki, Kaiba and Pegasus end up having a duel, but Pegasus ends up winning, and due to that, he uses his Millennium Eye to take, Seto's soul, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier. He actually had taken Mokuba's soul as well. So now not only do we need to save grandfather, but now we have to save Mokuba and Kaiba from pretty much being lifeless zombies in their bodies. So I forget who. No, I got them mixed up. Mai went against Yugi, and then Joey went against Bandit Keith. So those were the 4 finalists. It was Yugi, Joey, Mai, and Bandit Keith. So Mai and Yugi had their duel. Yugi won. Bandit Keith and Joey had their duel. Of course, Bandit Keith, with his cheating self, stole Joey's entrance card. So without it, if he didn't have it to present it before the duel, he would have been disqualified. But since Mai had lost and she still had hers, she gave it to Joey so that he could still participate in the duel. Went through it, won. But Bandit Keith, not wanting to give up, said that the card he presented to enter the duel wasn't his, or he should be disqualified. Saying that he had lost his, and he's like, I never said anything about whether my card was lost or stolen or anything. How would you know anything about that? Kind of pretty much outing himself. I think, what was it? They had cameras or something to show that he had stolen Joey's card to get in. So he ended up, even though Joey had won, he ended up getting disqualified in the end. And he was not happy about that because he wanted the prize money. So, and this is what it said. This is the funny part, that the 4Kids version cut out, that if you go back and you watch the original anime, pretty much he pulled up to Pegasus, because he's standing to this in the side watching all these duels go down. He pulls a gun on Pegasus and pretty much I'm gonna blow your head off if you don't give me the prize money right now. But ends up having a trap door right under him reveal itself, setting him off the island and just out the way, which is crazy. But 4Kids sees him get up, threaten Pegasus, but he's just pointing at him, which is so hilarious to me. And it's just young me back then didn't understand what that was about, why he did that, and it did look weird. Not until years later, and I'm watching the Japanese version just to see the difference, and I'm like, oh, that's what he was doing. That makes a lot more sense. But I'm like, why would they cut that out like that and then just do what they did? That looked so weird. But then and I look back and I'm like, well, that makes sense, because 4Kids was 4 kids. They wouldn't want going around showing the guns and blood and violence and whatnot. So that's why I like certain fight scenes and just certain things that happened in any anime or show that got the 4Kids hands on it. Certain scenes like that were cut off or just straight up changed to make it weird but funny, to the point that even to this day we still make fun of them. So we end up having the final match before, the second to last final match of Joey and Yugi. At this point, Yugi's fighting to save his grandfather, but also to save Kaiba and Mokuba. Joey's doing this to get the prize money to help his sister's operation. But of course, Yugi ends up winning. But he does promise Joey that that he will win, and then when he does, he will give Joey all of the prize money, so that way he can use it for his sister's operation. So that just totally gets Joey in tears. He's like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "You are the best, like the best friend a guy could ask for. Like you didn't have to do that. Like if you win." Like the money is yours. You don't have to give it up to me. And he's like, "No, you're my friend. I saw how much you were fighting for this. It's only right that when I do win this, you go and you go save your sister," which is so sweet. So we end up having a very iconic fight of Yugi versus Pegasus. That was it was so many episodes, so many twists and turns of them using their Millennium items and their fighting and their abilities. But in the end, and with the power of friendship and whatnot, Yugi and the Pharaoh end up pulling it off, beating Pegasus. With it, Yugi wins, is crowned the King of Games, wins the prize money reward, and with it was also able to save his grandfather, Kaiba, and Mokuba. So, and yeah, that's kind of where it ends. Which actually, funny enough, I learned in the manga what happens to Pegasus is actually a lot more gruesome than what happened in the anime. We know in the anime, his Millennium Eye was stolen by, again, Bakura pops up. Evil Bakura pops up and takes his Millennium Eye. But, funny enough, I didn't know this until years later. They were like, what happened in the anime on that was a lot more gruesome than what happened in the show, which makes sense. But it's even more gruesome than I thought. Look, actually, it turns out it looks like at that point, Bakura had killed Pegasus and stolen his eye. So that's why throughout the rest of the manga, you don't really see Pegasus because he's supposed to be dead. Like, Bakura killed him and stole his Millennium Eye, which is wild. So I was like, holy. Which is funny because the rest of the show, he does, well, kind of funny enough, more like in filler he pops up. Which I guess makes sense why in the main arcs he doesn't pop up, because in the main story he's supposed to be dead. So, but yeah, after that we do get 8 episodes of just some filler. They call it the Naruto City Battles. It consists of 3 sub-stories. The Girl of America, Rebecca Hawkins faces Yugi in a duel for the ownership of his grandfather's blue-eyed white dragon, but later find out that it belonged to her grandfather, who gave it to Yugi's grandfather. They have a duel. Yugi lets her win. She gets the blue eyes, saw that it was torn, starts blaming them. Her grandfather pops up, says that, he gave him the card as a token of their friendship, because years ago when they were on an expedition, they had like dueled over for the last bit of water, and then it turns out that Yugi's grandfather let him win so that he can get the water, because he saw he was in more need of it than himself. Kind of pretty much being the same of Yugi letting Rebecca win and getting that win, even though he clearly could have won. Kind of seeing like grandfather like grandson, because they, both end up giving up the duel to the person of the same family. And funny enough, after this, Rebecca ends up getting a huge crush on Yugi. Funny enough, because we find out she is a little girl, like really young, but she is someone who had already graduated to high school and now is in college. So she has like a crazy IQ. So even though she's like mad young, like academic wise, she's higher than them, because they are all still in high school while she's in college. So it's funny. Next is the Legendary Heroes, or known as the Duel Monsters quest. Yugi and his friends participate in the Legendary Hero virtual reality game to save Seto. With that, 5 big members of the Kaiba Corp have turned against Seto, kind of seeing that he isn't fit to run the company anymore, so they trapped him in this virtual reality he was creating. Mokuba finds out about this, runs to Yugi asking him for help, so him and Joey hop into the world with Mai, which we find out later on. She was asked to participate in the test trial. And with their help, they find Seto, free him, and funny enough, end up trapping the soul of the five businessmen in the world and freeing everyone. And then last one, ooh, one sec. Sorry about that. Get my water again. The thing. Oh right. And the last sub story is the Dungeon Dice Monster. This is where we meet another friend of the group who ends up becoming a permanent member later on. We meet Duke Levlin, who blames Yugi for the disappearance of Pegasus, and tries to exact revenge through the game he created and try to get like funding and pushed out by Pegasus his Dungeon Dice Monsters game. So he challenged Yugi to it, kind of pretty much saying like you can't beat the game master of a game that he himself had created. But this is kind of where Yugi's title of King of Games kind of plays a role in the fact that no matter what the game is, that he is quote unquote going to be the king of it, beating him at his own game. Even I think at one point, pardon me, he had challenged him to like a game of actual Duel Monsters and still lost. But kind of finds out, coming to the understanding that whatever happened to Pegasus wasn't directly Yugi's fault. They didn't know what happened between him and Bakura. But does see Yugi in a new light and ends up becoming good friends with the group. So, and with that, we get into another really main popular. Oh, I probably should say, yeah, the last arc, the Domino City battles, so those last 8 episodes, those were all filler, as you probably can't tell. So those were all just made up for the anime, had no real ties into the main story or arc of the overall story. But this next one is, and this is Battle City Part 1. This is episodes 50 to 97. This features the preliminary and quarterfinal rounds of the Battle City tournament. So at this point, this is where Kaiba starts making his more modifications to his dual discs. Pretty much at this point, this is the iconic wrist arm dual disc that we see them playing with, but throughout the rest of the show, and pretty much seeing different iterations of it later on in other series. Kind of making it portable so that way people can duel whenever, wherever they want, without having to go into like a stadium or going into a battle arena. As long as you have that, you can pretty much duel wherever you want. And to promote that, and of course, again, to try to win back his title of King of Games, he designs this Duel Monsters tournament in the city that they're all in. And another really main part of that is he ends up meeting this Egyptian lady named Izizu, and she shows him pretty much visions of like an ancient past of his. Of course, at this point, Kaiba does not believe any of this magic humbo jumbo stuff. But when she does reveal that there were actually 3 more cards that Pegasus created that were so powerful that even he couldn't control them even after being made, that he kind of had them sealed away, but someone had stolen them, and now they're in the hands of people who will do bad things. She was able to get one of them back and ends up giving it over to Kaiba. This is where we learned about the 3 Egyptian god cards: Obelisk the Tormentor, Slifer the Sky Dragon, and I can never remember the last one. It's something of Ra. I always get that name wrong. Yu-Gi-Oh! God cards. Oh, the Winged Dragon of Ra. There we go. Yeah, so we learn about these 3 Egyptian god cards: Slifer the Sky Dragon, Obelisk Tormentor, and the Winged Dragon of Ra. So she ended up giving him Obelisk, saying like, hey, if you want to get your hands on the other two Egyptian god cards, why don't you create a tournament and whoever has them will, be drawn to all the other rare and exclusive cards that are other players might have, and kind of make it a rule like whoever wins gets their opponent's most powerful card. He just tested it out, saw the amazing power that Obelisk has, creates his his Battle City tournament, um, announces it, and says that this is where he'll reclaim his title, as well as gaining 3 of the most powerful cards in all of Duel Monsters. With that, funny enough, at the same time, the Pharaoh is still kind of confused on who he is, what his purpose is, why he's here. He knows a bit about his past, that he is from like 3,000 years in the past. His origins is from ancient Egypt, but other than that, he has no other recollection of anything else. Like, why he's so good at Duel Monsters, like, what other ties does he have, and kind of what his main mission is. Give me one sec again. Ew, sorry about that. I keep stopping, but my throat keeps getting dry. So with him and Taya, they I call it a little date. They pretty much kind of went on a little date to kind of help him open his mind, kind of clear it, so that way he could think more clearly. But they end up going to the same exhibit that Kaiba went with when he met Izuzu. She meets him. Informs him of a name he kind of went by, but not his real name, Yami. So that's where we get the name of Yami Yugi for the first few episodes. Well, at this point, until we get the reveal of his real name at the end. So at this point, everyone starts calling him Yami or Yami Yugi. Revealed, that he was a pharaoh from 3,000 years ago, that he helped in sealing a great evil, but that great evil is now trying to force his way back. So now he has to help in sealing it back up again to ensure that great evil doesn't make its way into the modern world. So of course, then also reveals that that there is something coming up that he should play a big role in, that will not only help him in maybe learning more about his past, but helping in saving the world. That's what we learn about the Battle City tournament. Yugi, of course, gets joined in. Joey, of course, hears this, wants to join. So when he goes to sign up, Kaiba had made a ranking of all the duelists he knows, and whoever qualified would be able to join his Battle City. But being petty, gave Joey like 2 stars compared to Yugi, who I think had like 4 or 5 stars. Excuse me. So, of course, Joey hearing this is like, oh, he just did this to be spiteful. Like, come on, I was runner-up in battles in the Duelist Kingdom. What is he talking about? But at the same time, we do have a shadow organization going around. The Rare Hunters, who go around hunting down duelists for their rarest cards. So when he does see that Joey has his Red Eyes Black Dragon, he hacks the system, boops up Joey's rank, getting him to join Battle City, but end up going after him so that they can get his Red Eyes. At the same time, after doing all of that, he does try to head off to the hospital because his sister is about to have her surgery, but gets stopped by the Rare Hunters. They defeat him, beat him up, take his Red Eyes, making him late to his sister's, well, pretty much the time he said he'd be there. He gets the gang gets called saying like, hey, we tried contacting Joey, he's not answering, we don't know where he is. Is he maybe with one of you guys? They go out, they find him, bring him to the hospital. He is able to cheer up his sister so that she can go through with the operation. Even though Joey, did lose his Red Eyes, he does have another rare card that he can offer up so that he can still participate in Battle City. I think it was his time wizard. I think that's what he was gonna start offering up until he got other rare cards. But Yugi and excuse me, ends up meeting up to the rare hunter that stole his card, was able to beat him, was gonna give it back, but Joey was like, no, hold on to it. No, you won fair and square, so due to the rules, you do get to keep the card. But he's like, if anything, with everything going on, this whole destiny and fighting evil, he's like, you're gonna need all the cards and good cards you're gonna need. And he's like, if anything, it will feel like I'm like fighting along with you if you have my card in your deck. So he ends up keeping it, and they end up going their separate ways, having all these other duels, gaining all these powerful cards, until we get to a really, really good duel that Yuki and the Pharaoh end up having. They end up meeting another person in charge of the rare hunters, which at this point we find out is a guy named Merrick, who really hates the Pharaoh, feels that he's not worthy of the power that he wields on the title, so is hoping to defeat him so that he can, one, gain access to his Millennium Puzzle, but also get the true power of the Pharaoh for himself. Excuse me, I don't know why my throat is so dry today. But he ends up fighting another person of him, and just his luck, he gave this, well, I guess servant's the right word, or mind control servant, really. He gives him one of the Egyptian god cards in hopes that it will be powerful enough to overwhelm Yugi to defeat him, get his Millennium Puzzle, and then do getting the power of the Pharaoh. Um, Ends up giving him Slifer the Sky Dragon, which at one point when he summons it and the power that it has starts to overwhelm Yugi, but funny enough, with the help of Kaiba, does end up coming with a counter to render Slifer, well, not useless, but pretty much using its biggest strength as its weakness, and ends up winning the duel, and in turn end up winning Slifer the Sky Dragon. So now each, I guess, group has a Magician God card. Seto still has Obelisk. Yugi now has Slifer. And this Merit guy has the Winged Dragon of Ra. But at the end of this, talking through the servant, mind control servant, I should say, Merrick announced that he will get the card back one way or another. He will also get the card that Kaiba has, and by doing that, he was like mocked him and was like, well, what happens if maybe I go after your family and friends? You know, would that change your mind in doing what I say? Pretty much being like, well, if I can't get to you directly, maybe if I mess with your family and friends, it'll be enough to throw you off. Pretty much letting me go after his grandfather, Joey, Tristan, and Taya. Pretty much saying the same thing to Kaiba, being like, hey, I can go after Mokuba. And funny enough, that's kind of what they do. You know, Yugi and Kaiba are going out trying to find the others, but they're too late when they interact with Merrick without knowing who he is. His rare hunters surround him, beat up Joey, kidnap Taya. Tristan, actually, funny enough, wasn't with them. He had went to go get Joey's sister, Serenity, because she had just had her surgery. Ben had her surgery. Was told that she could be able to take off her bandages that day, and she wants the first thing that she sees is her brother in a duel. So Tristan offered to go get her. So he wasn't with them when they got ambushed. And at the same time, Mokuba ends up getting captured by the Rare Hunters as well. This is the whole thing. And then these tag team members of the Rare Hunters challenge both Yugi and Kaiba to a duel, which was a whole hullabaloo because Kaiba, of course, is not a team player, doesn't work in the team setting, but they end up pulling it through. At the same time, Joey and Taya were separated, but they did end up pushing Mokuba with her, so he was able to kind of explain what happened, why they got kidnapped. But at the same time, oh, actually, I forgot to say this. Both Ishizu and Merrick both have a Millennium Item. She has the Millennium Necklace. With it, she's able to see into the future. Or, I think it's not just the future. I think she can see, like, the past, the future, and the present, pretty much. So pretty much she can see throughout time. And the Millennium Rod that Merrick has allows him to mind control people, and that's pretty much it. Kind of just control people. That's mind control people. But with it, he does end up using it on Joey to control him. With the help of Taya, Mokuba was able to escape and get help from Seto and Yugi, kind of showing like, hey, I was with Taya. I don't know where Joey is or Tristan. They probably were there, but just not where she was. But she helped me escape so I can find you guys, so that way we can head back and help them. But at the same time, at that point, they had taken Taya, brainwashed her as well. So when Yugi, Seto, and Mokuba popped up, Joey was mind controlled. He forces Yugi and Joey to fight, which was crazy. How that fight turned out, and even to ensure that no one jumped in and tried to break the fight, had Taya strapped to a chair and had a crane with a huge box dangling over her head, and pretty much threatened that if anyone stepped in, anyone tried to stop the duel by force, that they would drop the crate and kill Taya, pretty much. They say kill, because remember, this is for kids at this point, but pretty much that they would drop this trade on Taya if anyone tried to stop the duel. But with the help of everyone, they were able to save the boys before they were dragged to the bottom of the sea, and Serenity was able to see her brother being super heroic and jumping in to save Yugi when he passed out after their duel. And at that point, we end up hopping over to pretty much the quarterfinals of the Battle City, which takes part on a blimp, where we get the duels of, it's actually been a minute. I forget who fought who. I know, Kaiba fought Ishizu. I'm trying to think. Who did Yugi go against? Was it Bakura? Did he go against Bakura again in Battle City the first time? I'm trying to remember. I think it was Bakura, but I don't think it was anybody else. And then Joey won against the guy who they thought was Merrick, but it actually was his step-brother, who was just following his orders. And then Mai went against the real Merrick, and woof, that was a tough duel. But Joey won his duel. Mai lost, so Merrick won. Yugi won his duel, and then Kaiba won his duel. And at this point, we do get another filler arc, which is the Virtual World arc, or the No Wars arc, depending on who you're talking with. Pretty much, this is where we meet, this pretty much is not a fake, but a made-up arc where pretty much more of the Kaiba drama pops up. We find out that he actually has technically, age-wise, has an older brother that actually was his. I didn't even talk about that. Because we learn more about the Kaiba situation. We turn out that Kaiba and Mokuba aren't the actual biological son of the former head of Kaiba Corp. They were his adopted sons, and actually he didn't even want to adopt Mokuba. He just wanted to adopt Seto because of his skills and his brains, but he pretty much said he wouldn't go anywhere without Mokuba, so either he was adopting them both or none, or neither one of them. It does that drove Seto ragged and trying to make him the perfect heir. Comes to find out, the reason why he did all that was he had a son, but had gotten into an accident, and and then I guess his body had shut down on him, so it transferred his consciousness into the virtual world, but eventually abandoned him there. So after all these years, now Noah is back trying to get revenge on who he believed kind of took away his father, to kind of pretty much have him rotting in this virtual world, dragging the others into it. But in the end, does learn the truth that pretty much his dad was just a piece of shit who um, really only saw him as a tool to further, the brand of Kaiba Corp, and when he couldn't live through that expectation, kind of abandoned him and went off to find other people who could fit that role for him, and end up helping them escape so that they can continue on with Battle City. And with that, we do end up getting the second part of Battle City, which are episodes 122 to 124, where we get the semifinal and final duels of the Battle City tournament. This is where Yugi and Kaiba have their second duel, well, pretty much their second rematch, or third rematch, I think, at this point, because they've had a first duel, then they had no second rematch would make sense. Because they had their first rematch in Duelist Kingdom, and this would be their second rematch since then. And then Joey ends up going up against Merrick, and that was wild. But Yugi pulls off, ends up beating Kaiba again. Joey ends up losing, but it was a very, very close duel. Excuse me. But due to the effects of the duel and all the damage he took and the Shadow Realm and all that, which is funny enough that the Shadow Realm actually wasn't a thing in the manga, it's just something the anime did. But I guess with him connecting his powers to the duel, was able to inflict real damage onto Joey. I think mentally and physically, drained him to where he almost won, but passed out and then lost the duel due to him passing out. But in the end, Merrick and Yugi have their final duel, and woof, that duel was a roller coaster in itself as well. Oh my god. But in the end, they are able to win. They are able to free Merrick from his dark side that we later find out was created from pretty much the mistreatment he had gotten over the years growing up. He was in a family that had served guarding the Pharaoh's tomb and all its secrets, but he felt it wasn't unfair that his whole life and any future he might have wanted was going to be stolen from him by guarding this thing. So, an evil entity, I guess in a way, kind of possessed him, forced him to be why should you have to do this? If you gain the power of the Pharaoh, you can then do whatever you want, live the life you want, but was able to see the light, was able to drive off that evil version of himself, turning back into the Merrick that is Shiju, as well as Odeon, I think that's his name, the brother, the one who's pretending to be Merrick. Knew who he truly was, and was able to, was able to give Yugi the win. Also gave him a little bit of a tidbit of, this is, a secret, not really a secret, but one of our goals is to help you end our battle with a final evil in the end. And if you want any more, answers or questions that you might have, please come to Egypt and we'd be more than happy to help you with that. But of course, before we get to that, we end up having two filler arcs right after. The Waking of the Dragons. This is where we get the Seal of Orichalcos arc. This is when a guy named Doman pops up. It's a whole crazy thing. Honestly, that arc is kind of hard to explain, but pretty much it's the Seal of Orichalcos, or the Orichalcos arc. Pretty much I can just say it has to deal with soul snatching, the lost city of Atlantis, and that there was a great being even older than the Pharaoh coming back and wanting to seize power and pretty much the world. Next, on the other filler arc, actually I'm gonna say this too. The Waking of the Dragons is episode 158 to 184. Pretty much the second to last final filler arc. is the Grand Championship, which is episodes 185 to 198. And in this story, Kaiba Corp hosts a Grand Championship where the winner gets a chance to face against Yugi for the Duel Monsters World Championship title. Ooh, pardon me. With that, we do get like some returning characters like Rebecca, she pops up. We do get some other characters we've never heard of popping up in this duel, all for the chance to fight against Yugi. Uh, Joey's in it, Kaiba's in it, and then pretty much everyone just having this huge tournament, and pretty much the final fight would be the finalists going against Yugi, which that wasn't a bad arc. It just you definitely tell it was just something to like fill up space until we got to the last two arcs, which actually before that, let me talk about this last kind of mini series that sometimes you can find pop up between certain episodes. I think it's but pretty much it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monsters. It's a mini-series composed, produced, and edited by 4 kids that is part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. Set before the end of the second Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime series, between the Grand Championship and the dawn of the duel, Capsule Monsters involves Yugi, Joey, Taya, Tristan, and his grandfather being pulled into a world where duel monsters are real. They find monster capsules that they can use to summon monsters. It's similar to the Virtual World arc in many respects. It's unrelated to Capsule Monsters chess game featured in earlier volumes of the original manga. So it's like they get invited to this trip. Their plane end up crashing and they somehow end up in like this world where the duel monsters come to life. And they get these machines that they are able to put the capsule in, and with it they can release the monsters who then fight on their behalf. It's interesting, so I definitely would give it a watch if you are able to find it anywhere. Like I said, sometimes it's like mixed in with the original Yu-Gi-Oh! So sometimes you'll just see, like after a certain part, you'll see the Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monsters, those few episodes pop up. But then some places won't, and they'll just immediately hop into the last two arcs. So, but I watched it. I enjoyed it. It really was interesting, kind of seeing like another aspect of a game that Yugi and the Pharaoh could get into, and pretty much still wrapping up with Duel Monsters and them getting back. But with that, we get into the last two arcs of the Pharaoh's Memories, which is episode 199 to 219. Pretty much, this is where they finally are trying to get some answers, trying to figure out what the great mystery is, what this great evil is. So they end up going to Egypt. Also, one thing that big eludes them is that to this point, even though they call the pharaoh Yami, that's not his real name. So even to this point, he still does not know what his real true name was. So he's hoping by doing this, he can learn his true purpose, and what he can do to defeat this great evil. This is kind of like I said, where everything wraps up. We once again get Bakura to join as one of the main antagonists, but we find out that at the end he was just a puppet to a greater evil that was just using him. But with the help of everyone, learning about his ancient past, even learning about Kaiba's link to his ancient past as well, and how he plays a role in all that, we're able to defeat this great evil. The pharaoh was able to learn what his true name was, which actually was the key in sealing the great monster. And at the end, we learned that his name is Atem. So with that, him, Yugi, and everyone come back. They at this point defeated the great evil. The pharaoh's memories have been fully unlocked. He remembers everything, including his name. But there was one final thing he has to do before they can pretty much like put a seal on this and everything, and that is him to lose a duel so that he could properly be sealed away and can finally rest after all these years. But at this point, everyone's like, that's impossible. You've been going around kicking everyone's butt. Even Kaiba, who is still known as one of the best duelists out there, has lost to you twice at this point. Like, who can really be someone that can defeat you to, fulfill the final prophecy and getting you sealed and finally giving you, the rest that you deserve. But in the end, it turns into the only person who can truly defeat the Pharaoh is pretty much the person who's been by his side this entire time, which would be Yugi. But this has a huge, like, toll on him, because, he has to do this in order to help the Pharaoh to finally get his final rest. But, this is also get rid, or not get rid, but he would not be able to be with pretty much someone who was his other half, his best friend, someone who has been with him through so many ups and downs, so many journeys, someone who's helped him grow as a person and also helped him grow as a duelist. Like, funny enough, he's like, we are one at this point. We don't just share one body. We've gone through so much. You are basically like another part of me. And if I were to lose that, I don't know how I would go on. But, at this point, Atem shows him, like, yes, that is true, and I do feel the same way. But you aren't the same Yugi you were when this whole journey started for us. Like you said, you've grown more confident, you've grown strong, not as just a person, but as a duelist. So I know that you have what it takes to do this. And we also see that, other people are also upset, they will, lose a really good friend of theirs. Even though at this point they are still kind of in a way a little bit, not really confused. They know that Yugi and Atem are two separate beings sharing a body, but, knowing that they would never ever get to see that side of him or have that part of him come out anymore if they were succeed in having him lose this duel and, being sealed away, hurts them. But they do know it is something that they have to do, something that he should be not, well, kind of not required, but something that, he's longed for. He's been on this journey for 3,000 years without ever truly knowing it, without truly resting. And now that he has completed his main mission, it needs to come to an end. It needs to wrap up. And Taya, takes this to heart because, like I said in the beginning, at this point we know that she has feelings for Yugi, but she's also developed feelings for Atem. So, knowing that pretty much the two people that she's fallen for are fighting, and if one of them does end up doing what they have to, they'll end up losing someone forever. But in the end, they do have the duel. Yugi is victorious. He was able to defeat Atem. With that, he was able to. I must forget it. Did he? I want to say he. I know he sealed away the Millennium items as well as the puzzle. But were the God cards sealed with him, or were Yugi able to keep them? I don't remember. I want to say the God cards were sealed with him as well. I don't think in the last movie that I'll talk about real quick, I don't think Yugi had the God cards. So I think he had sealed the God cards, he sealed all the Millennium items with it. But we do get that very iconic scene of, him walking into the light, kind of going into his eternal rest. Everyone at this point is crying, wishing him the best, knowing that even though that they won't see him again, they will always carry him in his heart. He's been such a big help to them. He's helped them all grow in a way, and he doesn't turn around, but he walks away, putting his thumb up, saying like, I'm out of here. You guys take it from here. My job is done. And that's how the story kind of ends for the main story. But yeah, so like I said, before we hop into that death battle reaction, I did want to quickly talk about a few of the movies that follow under the kind of the same premise, not the same premise, but under the franchise of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. Who knows? Maybe I'll put these on my movie list so that one day we can maybe talk about one of these any of these movies in depth. Except for this first one, I have to look and see where I can find this one, because it turns out there's actually 4 Yu-Gi-Oh! The first one is from 1999. It's just called Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's not the Yu-Gi-Oh movie that we here in the North got. Um, it's about a boy named Shodo who is too timid to duel, even after he got a rare, powerful card, the legendary Red Eyes Black Dragon, in his deck. Yugi tries to bring Shodo's courage out in a duel with Seto Kaiba, who has his eye on Shogo's rare card. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember this movie at all. Especially not being the first Yu-Gi-Oh movie I remember being like broadcasted or announced. Again, I'm saying that's one that was only, I guess, in Japan. For us here in the U.S. or North America, the first ever official Yu-Gi-Oh movie, or the one that we call Yu-Gi-Oh the movie, was Yu-Gi-Oh the movie Pyramid of Light. This was first released in North America on August 13, 2004. This film was developed especially for a Western audience by 4Kids, based on the overwhelming success of the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise in the United States. Warner Brothers distributed the film in most English-speaking countries. Its characters are from the second series of Yu-Gi-Oh! In this film, Atem faces Anubis, the Egyptian god of the dead. So yeah, that's very interesting. But I would love to go more in depth on that movie and what happens. Then we do get one more that kind of happens a bit later. This kind of happens around the realm of when Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds was happening, but it does pay homage to the two previous series of GX and original Yu-Gi-Oh! It is Yu-Gi-Oh! 3D Beyond Bonds Beyond Time. It's a 3D film released on January 23rd, 2010 in Japan, with a North American release in spring of 2011. It celebrates the 10th anniversary of the first NAS series and features an original storyline involving Yugi Moto, Jaden Yuki from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and Yusei Fudo from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, fighting against a new enemy named Paradox. It was first teased with short animation features at the start of the episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds during the third season. Like I said, this pretty much happens around the time of 5Ds, because at this point we finished up and wrapped up original Yu-Gi-Oh! We already went through the story of Jaden Yugi and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, which I would love to talk about. I love GX. And then this kind of happens around the realm of where 5Ds are, and now we're following a new character of Yusei Fudo. I would love to talk about 5Ds too. 5Ds is a whole different realm of edge compared to what the original, the first two series had. So I would love to talk about those. And last movie is one that we got very years ago. I remember when this movie came out, because at this point we hadn't gotten anything Yu-Gi-Oh related that had the original cast. At this point we've had other iterations. I think at this point, what Yu-Gi-Oh was out? Was it Zexal? Was Zexal out at this time? I want to say. I think Zexal was out at this time. But we had one more final Yu-Gi-Oh movie with the original cast of Joey, Tristan, Taya, Duke, Kaiba, Mokuba, Yugi, and of course Tim. This film is Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions. It's a film that was released in Japan April 23rd of 2016. The film is an original story and features Yugi Moto and Seto Kaiba as its main characters. The film story is set after the events of the original manga worldwide. It received a 2017 release where it marketed as a story that takes place after the second anime series, which makes sense because pretty much the beginning of the story of that is they're like everyone's in their final year of high school. Everyone kind of has an idea of what they want to do. Taya wants to continue with her dream of becoming a dancer. Got accepted into like a school in like New York, I believe. So once she graduates, she'll be moving to New York. Tristan, I think, said we're just gonna run his family like shop. Or that's like what his parents want him to do. Joey decides that he is going to go on and being a full-time duelist. And Yugi decides that he wants to kind of continue with games, but he wants to create games now. So he's hoping by the next time everyone kind of gets together after years of being apart that they can play his new game that he'll have out and released. But we do have like a dark uh, entity coming out, trying to get back at our, not really get back, but trying to draw our heroes in. And throughout the whole premise of this, we see Kaiba digging up the Millennium items, digging up the Millennium puzzle, all in the hopes that he will be able to get it set back up, give it to Yugi so that he can then wear it again, in the hopes that it will bring back a Tim so that he can fight him one final time and getting kind of getting the redemption he wants. Not really redemption, but getting the notion that he is the best duelist out there, that he was able to beat Atem once and getting back his title as the true king of games. But yeah, that movie was just really good. Kind of gives like a wrap up of kind of seeing what everyone's been doing at this point, seeing where their future's gonna lie, and it's just so good. I just remember there was so much hype because, like I said, at this point, it had been years since we had anything involving our main cast of everyone. So getting a movie, kind of seeing their story finally kind of wrapped up, seeing everyone kind of going on and what they want to do for the rest of their, kind of doing what they want for their future, it just is so good. Hello Biden, hello. Kind of caught me right at the very end. Pretty much just went through my list, well not list, but my synopsis of the OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters anime. I did talk about a bit of the movies, pretty much went through each arc, and funny enough, we actually came at a very good time, because I was just about to do this reaction that I had hold off and was gonna do. It's a death. Have you ever heard of Death Battle? It's like this channel where they pick like characters against each other. And a month ago, they did one with Ash versus Yugi. And funny enough, and then like a little couple of while after I had picked Yu-Gi-Oh as an anime that I was gonna cover, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hold off until I do this, and then we'll react to this and kind of see what they do. It would be interesting in kind of seeing what they would do in that premise. But yeah. So let me know if did you grow up watching OG Yu-Gi-Oh, or were you someone who maybe picked it up after some of the other series? I know there are some people who haven't seen OG Yu-Gi-Oh, but they picked it up around the time whatever Yu-Gi-Oh series was out. So I know some people started off with like maybe GX, 5Ds, Zexal, Arcs 5, Reigns. God, there's so many seasons at this point, it's crazy. But yeah, for someone like me, I grew up with OG Yu-Gi-Oh! This is one of the very first kind of card game show I watched. Like, at least card based like this. I'm also gonna say there was another one that had cards, but they're more like ability cards. And as soon as I said that, maybe you should know, I was thinking more of Bakugan, but that had to do more with like the Bakugan himself, and then they all had ability cards. But this was like the first like card based anime I ever watched, and I was hooked ever since. But alright, so with that, let me go here. Oh, where's my thing gone? There we go. That was weird. I must have taken it off by accident. Oh, my chair's gone too. There we go. Alright. So with that, let me get it up. Alright, perfect. I got it up. Alright, so let me turn that off. Let me make sure the volume on this is on loud enough. Alright, so this is gonna be the last thing I do because we are pretty much going on almost 2 hours. This is probably like one of the longest podcast episodes I've done in a while. But we'll be doing this death battle of Ash versus Yugi. We'll see who wins, and then we'll give a little opinion about it and see maybe this will make sense or not. So,
Right, Pikachu?
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Ash Ketchum versus Yugi Moto.
The biggest question from the playground. Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh? He's wins that boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle.
I haven't watched one of these in a minute, so this is interesting.
This is a big episode. Just look how long it is. So thanks to our sponsor, Mad Mushroom, for helping us make it happen.
Yeah, go check out Mad Mushroom's newest game, Night Swarm. It just launched.
Yeah.
World of Pokemon.
Oh, the kid.
Alright.
Steam now.
Alright,
And
there we go.
15% off for a limited time.
Alright, there we go.
Hello there. Welcome to the world of Pokemon.
Oh, the kids get their first one at age 10. If you don't sleep in like Ketchum from Pallet Town.
Ash wanted to be a Pokemon master, though he didn't really know what that meant yet.
How about taking down your rivals to be the very best, like no one ever was? Better than Gary and his dumb groupies.
Ash knew he'd find his answers at the Pokemon League tournament.
So Oak hooked him up with the electric mouse, Pikachu. And
Pikachu!
problem now, stupid?
Pikachu was a lot. The new duo had a rocky start, but after an intense first day together, the rest, as they say, is history.
25 seasons, over 1,200 episodes,
Mhm.
and the cornerstone of 2000s culture. Ash spent decades as a 10-year-old on the great Pokemaniac journey.
We should note we are prioritizing the anime that Ash is from, which often differs from the original games that inspired it.
Right.
He's equipped with tons of Pokeballs and an all-knowing Pokedex. That's also a Pokemon. But in a fight, Ash usually chooses Pikachu. Give the yellow-red enough voltage and you'll regret it. Even ground types that would be immune to electric attacks in the games can't stop what this Pikachu dishes out.
Yet somehow Ash is just fine after repeatedly getting zapped by this same electricity. Pikachu learned Volt Tackle, Electro Web, Electro Ball, and
Pikachu, use Thunderbolt! The perfect attack for outgoing flamboyant thieves and air balloons. Looks like they're blasting off again.
so clearly the anime doesn't follow the game rules.
Nope.
Like when Pikachu shot himself with his own thunder while on Swellow, who, you know, is vulnerable to lightning.
But somehow they use thunder as a super armor. He even learned
Yeah,
how to
the anime does
attack
crazy
by just
stuff.
Spinning really fast. Whee!
Speaking of fast, Pikachu has intercepted lightning, but Quick Attack increases that speed even more.
And his Iron Tail really pairs well with Ash's offensive style. The guy plays crazy, opting for big damage over stalling.
Ash's style is so unusual that when a robot scanned his tactics, it exploded.
Oh my god,
As the great
I remember that.
philosophers put it, if it works, is it still stupid?
Ash and Pikachu's bond is magnetic and brought them new allies. Misty, Brock, Serena, just to name a few.
Oh yeah.
Stubbornness and crispy bikes, they are loyal friends.
Just like Ash's Pokemon. They're not just collecting dust in a shiny hunting box.
He has so many Pokemon, it's crazy.
6 at a time, but if he needs them, they'll all come running.
Water types like Squirtle and Lapras are key in seafaring fights, and Ash can combine their water attacks with Blaze Ice Beam.
One time, his Weasel got frozen while using Aqua Jet, which is fine. Now he's using Ice Aqua Battering Ram.
Grass types like Bulbasaur and Torterra induce status effects and heal with synthesis.
Let me get into a Terra.
Tile's a menace.
Ah,
he
set
has
a
you
tile.
Big scary dark ride. Eat this leaf blade, Smeargle victim. Or that's what I would say if Tobias did an action replay of frickin' Latios. My man will win, 4 kids.
Kids just did the localization. They didn't write the show.
They just get me heated. Almost as much as in
Kinda funny talking about 4 kids.
Then I'll set my Inferno to overdrive, get my revenge, and Incineroar.
Ash had a fiery passion for reaching the top ASAP, but Charizard
Ah, Charizard.
pride over packs,
So
lost the
iconic.
Lightning Force for the trees, and fumbled the Indigo League.
Harsh lesson, but one he needed. Ash started bonding with Pokemon at a deeper level, and that friendship motivated them to dodge light-speed moves like Solar Beam and Side Beam.
Charizard came around too. He's the last one you want to see on the field. Even if you have a Blastoise like Gary, Ash will call for the most unexpected signature move.
Seismic Toss! The people's elbow of Pokemon. Charizard's so strong, his flamethrower melts boulders. The Pokemon world is wild.
Ash's Pokedex spells it out. Vanillix causes blizzards. Magikarp leaps over mountains and into space. Dusknoir pulls
Yeah,
souls
these
into
Pokemons are
the
crazy.
Oh, and Pikachu cleared a storm as wide as an island. Gotta catch 'em all! Surfetch, Butterfree, Heracross, Scraggy, Lycanroc, Palpitoad, Torkoal, Snivy.
With new regions, soar new flying types like Pidgeot. On land, Ash has physical offense like Melmetal and Crocodile, and Gibble will drop Draco
Gibble!
Meteors
I remember
like
Gibble.
but mainly Piplup.
You want physical? Look at Ash. This dwarf somehow carried around a Cosmoem, which canonically weighs over a ton. Oh, and this huge log that's basically a whole tree? He chucked it like it was nothing. Ash can choose his own hands if he wants, and he does a lot. Maybe his secret is watching the Minnesota Vikings.
Resilience is the bare minimum to HMO1 cut it in the tall grass. Humans and Pokemon must protect and enrich each other's lives.
Like Mimey, the Mr. Mime back home who mind boggles you with Reflect, Light Screen, and Psychic. Yep, that Mr. Mime. The stepdad who
Stepdad again.
Run home. Oh, so that's how it works.
Ash figured out new ways to bond with his pals with Aura. It's a life force that interacts with souls and links Ash with Lucario.
This jackal excels at CQC.
I love Lucario.
And Aura Spheres.
That's like one of my favorite
In
Pokemon.
evolution, Lucario's power surges enough to beat champion Cynthia's Garchomp.
Omega would have been handy
Oh.
at the Safari Zone when Ash accidentally caught 30 Tauros. And he keeps hugging them. Ash, they're bulls.
Ash genuinely loved his little guys, but boy does it suck to see him lose the Pokemon League over and over again. Kid, just turn the hat backwards and lock in.
Ash's strength is not in battle theory, but his
Yeah.
magic bomb.
It took him
He knows
years to
Pokemon
finally
better
win a
than anyone.
tournament.
With Greninja, Ash learned to synchronize their senses and movements, transforming him into Ash Greninja.
It comes with a huge power increase, but there's a catch. Ash shares Greninja's pain. A small price to pay for the
I know
ultimate
that.
Water Shuriken.
Ash Greninja ran the ones with Champion Diantha's Mega Gardevoir. And just a normal Gardevoir can conjure black holes.
Ash's Pokemon and teamwork get along like rice balls and jelly-filled donuts. They saved the world from last
I thought they
year
did
trying
that.
to kill all life. They fought the giants. The Reggie kind, not the New York ones. Who halted Reggie Gigas? Who could tow entire regions?
Ash's team battled Steven Stone and Alon, who fought the terraforming primal forms of Groudon and Kyogre.
Ah, don't get me started on Alon. Ash did everything right, but no, Greninja still lost to his Charizard after only getting hit 3 times. How does Blastburn beat Water Shuriken? Get your type charts right, poor kids.
Boomstick, poor kids weren't even around.
I was about to say,
anymore.
what?
Regardless, after his loss at Kalos, Ash traveled to Alola and beyond to train. And thanks to some really delicious soup, his new Gengar Gigantamaxed.
Hide you, Gengar! He haunts foes with G-Max Terror, or even swallows them up. I mean, it smells nasty in there.
Ash and Pikachu also scored a buff with their Z move. All they need is a Power Ring, some JoJo poses, and Thunderbolt will evolve into
10 million volt Thunderbolt! This Rainbow Lightning is their ace. You see this coming? You're cooked. Absorb electricity? Cooked. Fused with an Ultra Beast? Cooked.
Ash journeyed so much that monsters from another dimension are nothing to him. Naganadel is a poisonous sniper, and Solgaleo is basically the sun god, a legendary Pokemon whose Sunsteel Strike lights up the universe.
Ash got a gun in his bag for just being a nice dude. Smell you later, Gary.
In fact, when Ash and friends band together, they can halt Dialga's Roar of Time. And Dialga literally controls the concept of time. Is there a legendary Pokemon he hasn't befriended?
But it all started with Pikachu, so it was gonna end with Pikachu. In the Tournament of Champions, and Alon, Ash faced the #1 trainer. Finally, after 3,000 years, we're free! Kids, let my boy win! Yes!
Sure. Ash Ash did his best, and he had no regrets. Now free to hand over his torch to new bright-eyed trainers.
Ash realized that, to him, a Pokemon Master was someone who was friends with every Pokemon. So, he and Pikachu threw a stick in the air and walked away it landed, because in the world of Pokemon, the journey continues.
Mind you, he did all this and he's still 10, so. Dude didn't age for like
If you wanna
damn near
travel
30
around
years.
like Ash or look as red as Yugi, then we've got the threads for you.
This battle is sponsored by Quince.
You'll
Oh,
like
we got another ad.
Death Battle staff have owned Quint stuff for ages, so we
Civilization
time
of ancient.
There we go. Alright, on to Yugi.
Many atheorists have tried to solve the mystery of ancient Egypt. What was the secret to such a glorious civilization?
time travel, the divine hand, aliens? Nah, they were gamers.
Egyptians played games with sorcery. These magical ceremonies punished dark hearts with swift death. The Shadow Game.
No, Wiz, they were banished to the
Shadow Realm.
Sadly, the way of the Shadow Games was lost across time and the pieces of the Millennium Puzzle. It's said the one who solves the puzzle would pass judgment on evil. And in the modern day, Yu-Gi-Moto reassembled it and wished for a friend.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Turn that jam up! Yugi was a shy kid that helped run his grandpop's game shop.
But little did he know that completing the puzzle would link his spirit to an ancient pharaoh.
Yami, always willing to lend Yugi a hand, and always on demon time while doing so.
Yeah, original Yu-Gi-Oh! I didn't talk about? Oh my
Yami
god.
wants to play a shadow game.
Whether it's Riddle Air Hockey, Mario Party with chloroform, or the game that would take his world and ours by storm, Duel Monsters.
It's a summoner's war. Time to send monsters to the graveyard and take your foe down to 0 life points.
When Yugi's grandpa was kidnapped by the deranged CEO, Seto Kaiba, Yugi knew it was time to knock him down the only way he knows how. Playing a children's card game.
And for his L, Kaiba was given a penalty game. Lose or cheat against Yami at your own peril. With the puzzle, Yami can punish you in some seriously messed up ways. Illusions of being set on fire, swapping your soul, or the infamous Mind Crush.
The Millennium Puzzle does far more than force hallucinations. It brings monsters to reality, forms barriers, manipulates probability, and seals away spirits.
You can't buy this. It and 6 other Millennium items are juiced up by ghosts.
Despite Yami's retribution, Yugi wasn't aware of this darker half. Yami had amnesia, so he didn't know himself either. But after a run-in with enemy Millennium Ring user Dark Bakura and some seriously hardcore LARPing, Yugi and Yami learned each other's shtick and made the dynamic duo.
With friends Taya, Tristan, and their left leg Joey, you
Left leg.
ready for anything.
Because Yugi had a great early deck. Monsters for offense, spells for effects, and traps for setups. Oh, and Exodi... Oh.
Yep.
There they go.
Okay, if Yugi's deck is so good, why isn't it the meta? Put me in, coach. Face my 2,000 card deck.
Don't be too quick to judge. Yugi's a very clever strategist. His style works best at maximizing the use of so-called terrible cards.
Yeah, cool story, Wiz. But what's he gonna do about the 3 blue eyes Kaiba's got aiming at his dome?
Simple. Summon the monster card Karibo and have it multiply. With a 1,000 strong meat shield, a dragon's breath is a gentle breeze.
Well, okay.
Anime rules.
Him, but I'm about brute force. Buster Blade
Ah.
and the Guardian are sick, nasty swordsmen. Summon Skull shoots bolts of lightning, and the giant soldier of stone can destroy moons.
Time Wizard's better. It's a living clock.
Oh, that's right, that was his card. He gave it to Joey.
Turning monsters
Forgot about
into
that.
wizards into wise sages.
Speaking of wizardry, you can't have a Yugi deck without his right hand. Dark Magician.
Yeah.
Dark Magician Girl.
Both are masters of dark magic, and Yugi often pairs them with the damage redirecting magic cylinder. Now that's thinking with portals.
There's support monsters too. Catapult Turtle is a bot with a cannon that literally launches other monsters. And when Yugi comboed it with Gaia and Swords of Revealing Light, which immobilizes monsters, they brought down an entire fortress. Wait, that's not how the card game works. Is he cheating?
Well, we're prioritizing the manga and anime over anything else, which can differ from the real world card game.
Yep.
Yugi also has tons of spell cards. Monster Reborn resurrects a fallen friend. Turn Jump is a time skip. And Pot of Greed lets Yugi draw 2 more
Yep,
cards.
they can't
like
use
Pot of
that.
Greed, which lets him draw 2 more cards like...
If things get dicey, he has more trap cards to level the field, like Dimension Sphinx, which reflects damage directly back at the opponent's life points.
And if his monsters and life points get wiped, he can just press Control-Z with Mirage Ruler to get them all back.
Pair these cards with Yugi and Yami's teamwork, and nothing could stand in their way. Not even the game's own creator, Pegasus.
Get this, Pegasus can read minds. So in their duel, Yugi and Yami kept swapping souls Freaky Friday style, trusting each other to pick up on the strategies they left behind. And the mind reader was stumped. Yeah, they cheated.
No, Pegasus was reading their minds. Regardless, Yugi and Yami are an excellent dueling pair. Yami trusts Yugi to improve on his plans, while Yugi expects Yami to be his bolder half.
They're not just smart. These card-slinging geeks are somehow expected to be fit enough to dodge lasers, resist getting their souls ripped out, and survive attacks from duel monsters. Even the most common duel monster can cause tsunamis, rain down meteors, and wreck cities.
And all of this power culminated in Battle City, hosted by Kaiba Corp.
Because Kaiba really wanted that salty run back against his rivals.
Yep.
Held only surpassed by Yami's biggest hater, Merrick. He
Merrick.
wanted the 3 Egyptian god cards to take him out. These cards were Slifer, the Electric Dragon, Ra, the God Phoenix, and Obelisk, who strikes with the power of infinity.
This was a different ballgame altogether, but Yugi was starting to stand on his own 2 feet.
So Yami and Yugi kept dueling on in a battle city that never wants to end. Or stop bullying Joey. But to claim the Egyptian gods, Yugi and Yami had to face them in duels, pulling off some ridiculously high IQ plays.
When battling Slifer, they used a handful of weak cards to create an infinite combo of attacks
That was sick.
the god's limits.
And later, Yugi combined Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl's magic into Black Burning Magic, promptly defeating Ra.
This ain't new for the magicians. In the movie Bonds Beyond Time, they did
Ooh.
something similar against Paradox. It's kind of crazy that together, the magicians can defeat the 10-star gods, which are way stronger than mid-tier monsters that are 5 to 9 stars.
Mid-tier cards aren't pushovers. Darkhold Dragon is a sentient black hole, planet alignment moves solar systems, and Jaden's Glow Neos destroyed a relativity field that spawned an entire universe.
But at the top would be the great evil god Zork, who showed
Yep.
up to plunge existence
Final
into the realm of
boss.
darkness. It was time for Yugi to finish the puzzle of who Yami really is.
If the monsters weren't real before, they sure were now. Everyone has soul energy, Ba, which manifests as Ka, or a spirit. When used in tandem with the bonds of his cards, Yugi can will duel monsters into reality, even drawing anyone he wishes by believing in the heart of the cards.
Ah, the
I knew it.
cards.
He's been cheating all this time. He doesn't just make up rules, he's stacking his deck.
Not at all. For Yugi, drawing the card he needs isn't just luck, it's an actual skill that he developed. It's even expanded in following series like GX and 5Ds.
Okay, well, I'd be the king of games too if I could just decide I have a royal flush every round.
Whatever. Yami rediscovered his Egyptian past, his multiple lifelong bonds, and his real name, Atem.
Yep,
Claiming
yep.
his place as the ruler of the afterlife, Atem fused the Egyptian god cards to summon Harakti, the creator of life.
I forgot about that.
Ultimate duel monster who banished Zork and all of his scary darkness for good. The epitome of screw you, I win.
No kidding. For Harakti created Yu-Gi-Oh's multiverse with that same light. Judgment had passed. Across many duels, evil was vanquished. There was only one more thing left to do.
A post-game boss duel between Yugi and Atem.
Their farewell was both climactic and bittersweet. Yugi had grown as a duelist and a person. His victory proved that he no longer needed Atem's help to be his bolder half.
Ah, that's the thing I was talking about. So iconic.
He slapping the end of existence. He and Yugi would always be bros. Okay, it should have been me, not him. I'm sorry I called you a cheater. I was jealous. You're so cool.
Yugi moved on to a career in game design and passed the torch to future duelists. He would be remembered as the greatest duelist there ever was.
King of games.
To Kaiba, who tried to ascend to the afterlife
Yep.
in a rematch attempt. Goes to show you that money can't buy you happiness, but it sure can buy you a sweet rocket ship.
There will always be another story, another duel, another game. And you won't find yourself a better opponent than the king of games.
Ah, so good. All right, let's get to the battle.
It's about to start, but we wouldn't be able to make it happen without some help from our
Yep.
friends at Raycon.
One more.
That's right, this message is sponsored by Raycon. If you're looking for
All right.
why? Order by December 15th to guarantee delivery by Christmas, because great gifts shouldn't show up late.
All right, on to the battle. Let's see who
All right,
wins.
the combatants are set. We've run the data through all possibilities.
Before we start, let's lay some ground rules.
We're treating this as a real-time fight, much like typical battles in the Pokemon anime and duels later on in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. And given that the rules of Pokemon and Duel Monsters are clearly incompatible, we'll allow them to summon anything that's reasonably available to them.
It's time to do death battle!
All right, I think Yugi might win because he has his god cards and all that. I don't think Ash has like any godlike Pokemon.
Okay, Pikachu? We're on four, it's tricky. Hang in there!
You have Spirit, but I have Lightning Blade and Excalibur to boost my attack. And I set one card face down to end my turn.
Whoa. Okay, guys, it's our turn now. Pikachu, throw him up with quick attack. Everyone else, back him up!
This looks nice. I'm not gonna lie.
Great job! Now, Thunderbolt!
Don't get ahead of yourself. You forgot about my face down card. Rise! Dimension Snake!
Oh. Oh.
Oh, I get it. Good thing we brought them all, right, Pikachu?
What do you mean, them all?
All his Pokemon.
Charizard, I choose you!
That's just crazy. I was like, what the fuck is that? Oh shit.
I'm sorry, partner. Don't worry. It's my turn now.
Oh, now we got Yugi.
I just need to believe in the heart of the cards.
Who's that Pokemon?
Haramsi! That is the light! This is it! Magician's flesh-burning magic! Haramsi! Joseph!
Oh shit.
Pikachu, let's finish this. Together!
was an awesome duel, Ash.
Oh, I knew it. So Yuki did win.
Oh, my childhood! Wins quick! I need your tears! We can save him!
There's a lot to this, so let's break it down by experience, strategy, and monsters. Starting with experience. Both Ash and Yugi have risen to the top, beating the best of the best, and traveled all over the world.
But Ash traveled more, was in more tourneys, and saved the world way more often.
True.
And despite what people say, he wins a lot.
Even Atem's stint as the Pharaoh doesn't tip the scale, since he wasn't in charge for very long.
Right.
Plus, Pokemon evolve over time, literally and figuratively. While Yugi's deck is obviously adjustable, the cards are unchanging, unable to grow like Ash's Pokemon.
So Ash wins in experience, but when it comes to strategy, he's a wild card.
He's
Yeah.
skilled at improvisation and using the environment to win. Even machines cannot comprehend his tactics.
But the same goes for Yugi. Gotta remember, Yugi and Atem's teamwork is second to none. They are masters at exploiting weaknesses, setting up tricks, and surprising foes with so-called weak cards.
Both could likely adjust to each other's unpredictability, so a Dark Horse-style win was unlikely.
But Ash's secret weapon is his bond with his Pokemon, boosting their power. I'm not just talking about Pikachu. His power of friendship invented an evolution for Greninja. That's crazy. Ash's trust in his Pokemon knows no limits.
Silly as it may sound, Yugi trusts his deck in the same way. The heart of the cards is real, and Yugi is determined to support his monsters with spells, traps, and buffs. Look at his duels with American Paradox, where he bolstered his weaker cards to take down gods. With Ba and Ka, his bonds with his cards manifest them into reality, not so dissimilar from Ash Greninja.
Yeah, Ash has aura, but he never mastered it. And specialties like Mega Evolution and Gigantamax, while awesome, only work with specific Pokemon.
And since Ash focuses on offense far more than support, Yugi could control the pace of the fight with cards like Swords of Revealing Light and Magic Cylinder.
But I know some of you are asking, what if Ash threw hands? The kid's strong enough to chug trees and lift baby gods. Just punch him, man. Well, Yugi's similarly tough, and the Millennium Puzzle can make shields, steal ghosts, cast illusions, and mess with minds. If Ash actually tried to punch him, it'd be Mewtwo all over again.
It's a close call, but Yugi takes the edge in strategy.
So it all comes down to the monsters.
I was gonna say monsters.
Yugi had a slightly larger pool of monsters, but Ashes can clear out island-wide storms, fight terraforming beasts, and are stronger than the black hole summoning Gardevoir.
However, Yugi's can rain down meteors, compete with larger black holes, and even the mid-tier scale to glow Neos, destroying that relativity field with a universe. And Herakti created Yu-Gi-Oh's whole multiverse, surpassing even Solgaleo's Sunsteel Strike.
So
and
yeah,
Dialga's
you got like
Lore of Time.
godlike
And
cards.
Yugi had more than just monsters on the field. Ash's strength was also his weakness. His power was evenly spread, relying only on his remaining Pokemon.
If Mr. Mime faints, no more Psychic Barriers. If he lost Lucario, no more Mega Evolution. And so on. The longer the battle went, the less Pokemon Ash had. And he did not have a reliable way to bring them back. He doesn't carry revives on him, and even then, reviving Pokemon in the anime is entirely different from the games. Meanwhile, Yugi had cards like Mirage Ruler and Monster Reborn that could instantly recall powers he's lost.
And he can, bend fate to draw whatever card he wants. And we didn't even cover them all. Really, Yugi's deck has no pathetic cards.
Exactly. Yugi's versatility and power swept Ash's options, giving his monsters the lead. He just needed the right moment to knock Ash stone cold.
That was a good attempt at a pun, Wiz. You might not think it's Pharaoh, but Ash got Yugi owned.
The winner is Yugi Moto.
Woo! Alright.
Death Battle will be back in 2026. But right now, you can check out our brand new channel. It's called Nightly Brew, and we're playing Dungeons & Dragons, Blood on the Clock Tower, and other games that'll probably blow up in our face. So, check it out right now, and make sure to subscribe. Thanks.
Okay, just want to see maybe they had a thing after. But yeah, funny enough, he ended up winning in that one. So, but oh, that was interesting and that was really cool. So I'm glad I hold off on that so I could watch it here. And yeah, I think that should be it. So, perfect. All right. And with that, we are done. Oh, actually, one more thing. I actually almost forgot. Where is it? After that, we have to spin the wheel. Yeah, we need our 2 episodes for next month. Here it is. Alright. So, let's see. Ooh, okay. So we could do one on the 14th. We could do a Valentine's Day episode. And we could do one on the 28th. Perfect. Alright. You know, it'd be funny if I end up picking like a romance anime for February the 24th, the 14th. But yeah, so we'll do the 14th and the 28th. So with that, let's spin the wheel and see which one we get for Valentine's Day. What the? I already did this anime. I must have not removed it. Okay, you know what? Let's shuffle. Let's try that one more time. Ooh! It's funny, I think I jinxed it, but that works out for me. So we'll do Fruits Basket, we'll do the remake, and we'll do Season 1. Alright, I spoke into existence and I got it. So for February 14th, we'll be doing Season 1 of Fruits Basket. And with that, the next anime for the 28th will be... Oh, funny enough, another romance anime, so I was gonna get a romance anime regardless. So, we'll do Teasing Master, Tatagi-san, Season 1. Funny enough, for the month of February, for Valentine's, I ended up picking 2 romance anime, so... Let's save. Perfect. Alright. So to alliterate, So for the 14th, we'll be doing Fruits Basket Season 1. And then for 28th, we'll be doing Teasing Master Tatagi-san Season 1. So those are the 2 animes we'll be going over in February. So with that, thank you again so much for everyone who came and listened. Hope you guys enjoyed me going over original Yu-Gi-Oh! I definitely did. It was such a blast talking about the original anime, the movies, and just going through it. I was gonna talk about the games, but we've already gone 2 hours, so... But, I mean, there's so many games. I actually got back into, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. I was playing it a while back in the day, but then I stopped. So I'm getting back into it. But I know there's other ones. There's... What are the other ones? I don't remember. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Something. Oh, there's Master Duels. Hold on. So there's 5. Okay, there's Duel Links. Legacy of Duelists, Link and Evolution. Master Duel. And something called Early Days Collection. I don't know about that one. That one came out last year. But yeah, so that's all the game, like at least mobile games, or like the games you can kind of play on Steam or PC that I know about. But yeah, I started getting back into Duel Links. I used to play it a lot, like maybe 4 years ago now, and I stopped for whatever reason. But it's just so good, you know, talking about the show, going through everything again, kind of reliving, like I said, my childhood, because I grew up with original Yu-Gi-Oh! And then I just kind of watched all the series from then. The only ones I haven't fully watched are the ones after Yu-Gi-Oh! Frames. I've seen bits and pieces of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7, and then Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 Go, I think, is the last one that's currently out, like, still being out and released. But that's like really it. So I've seen all the other ones up until that point. So, but yeah, but that's gonna be it for me. Like I said, I'm not sure. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. Maybe I'll do something tomorrow. If not, I definitely will try to do something Monday. So I'll definitely keep you guys posted on what I do. But for that, that's gonna be it for me. I'm gonna try to bundle up, because like I said, it is starting to get cold in here. Like, I'm looking at my thing and it says it's like 49 degrees outside. Good God. That's gonna be it for me. Again, thank you guys so much for everyone who came. I'll have the audio version of this up, probably by like tomorrow, Monday. So definitely look out for that. But thank you again for everyone who came. I do hope you guys had a good day, night, evening, whatever you are. Stay safe. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!